Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I'm Robert from El Magnifico Games, and today we are going to continue with our usual Wednesday poetry and riddles. Now, last week, the last poem we looked at was A Lover's Lullaby by George Gascoigne. George Gascoigne was this gentleman. Most notable for being the first poet to deify Queen Elizabeth I, establishing her cult as a virgin goddess married to her kingdom and subjects. At least, so it would seem. So in other words, he was a Tudor courtier. Unsuccessful courtier. So, we'll begin the stream by my rereading the last poem we looked at, and then we will look at some more poems that we haven't seen before. So, A Lover's Lullaby. Sing lullaby as women do, wherewith they bring their babes to rest, and lullaby can I sing too, as womanly as can the best. With lullaby they still the child, and if I be not much beguiled, full many a wanton babe have I, which must be stilled with lullaby. First lullaby my youthful years, It is now time to go to bed. For crooked age and hoary hairs have won the haven within my head. With lullaby then, youth be still, with lullaby content thy will, since courage quails and comes behind, go sleep and so beguile thy mind. Next lullaby my gazing eyes, which wanted were to glance apace, for every glass may now suffice to show the furrows in my face, in thy face. With lullaby then, wink a while, with lullaby your looks beguile, let no fair face nor beauty bright entice you eft with vain delight. And lullaby my wanton will, let reason rule nor reign thy thought, since all too late I find by skill how dear I have thy fancies bought. With lullaby now take thine ease, with lullaby thy doubts appease, for trust to this if thou be still, my body shall obey thy will. Thus lullaby my youth, mine eyes, my will, my where, and all that was, I can no more delays devise, but welcome pain let pleasure pass. With lullaby now take your leave, with lullaby your dreams deceive, and when you rise with waking eye, remember then this lullaby. So, that was the last poem we looked at. Now we will look at the poem The Night is Near Gone by Alexander Montgomery. So, who was Alexander Montgomery? A Scottish Jacobean courtier and poet, or maker. Or makar. What's a makar? Makar is a term from Scottish literature for a poet or bard, often thought of as a royal court poet. Interesting. Born in Ayrshire, he was a Scottish Gaelic speaker and a Scots speaker from Ayrshire, an area which was still part of the Scottish Gaedhel Park in his day, which I must be mispronouncing. He was one of the principal members of the Castalian Band, a circle of poets in the court of James VI in the 1580s, which included the king himself. Montgomery was for a time in favour as one of the king's favourites. He was a Catholic in a largely Protestant court, and his involvement in political controversy led to his expulsion as an outlaw in the mid-1590s. Oh dear, you don't want that. You don't want to be declared an outlaw. I assume they're using it in the proper sense of the word, not the more colloquial sense nowadays as just a criminal. An outlaw would be someone who was declared as being beyond the protections of the law. In otherwise, you could do anything you liked to them. It would not be regarded as a crime, for they were outside of the law, an outlaw. So if that's what they mean, not ideal. Montgomery's poetry, much of which examines themes of love, includes autobiographical sonnets, and foreshadows the later metaphysical poets in England. He is sometimes by tradition given the epithet Captain. Didn't know that. Says here that he was thought to have lived from about the 1540s to the 1610s, although I would note Wikipedia that was written, or the Wikipedia article that would have been written 100 years after this, more than that, seems to have narrowed that range to 1550 to 1598. I'm guessing that he died then probably indirectly because of his expulsion. Montgomery largely disappears from view after the collapse of his legal case, until he became involved in late 1596 or early 1597 in a Catholic plot to seize the rocky outcrop of Ailsa Crag, presumably, Ailsa Crag in the lower Firth of Clyde, a support for a Spanish intervention in the Earl of Tyrone's rebellion in Ireland, led by Montgomery's friend and fellow poet Hugh Berkeley of Ladyland. This enterprise soon collapsed, Berkeley being killed in the process, and on the 14th of July 1597, Montgomery was declared an outlaw. This is later than the summary at the top of this article seemed to indicate. He may have planned to leave the country, perhaps to go to the Scottish Benedictine monastery in Wurzburg, but he was still in Scotland at the time of his death in August 1598. His death proved as controversial as much of his life, for the authorities of the Canongate Kirk in Edinburgh refused to allow him to be buried in the churchyard on the grounds of Catholicism, only an intervention by the king himself forcing them to change their minds. Montgomery's exact place of burial is unknown, but it must have been in the church or grounds of Holyrood Abbey, which was then used by the Canongate congregation. Anyway, we won't read the entire article, as interesting as I'm sure it is. That's roughly speaking who this individual was. And it means we've moved ahead in time. Quite a bit, actually. I think this article must be a little bit misleading. No, it isn't. Yes, because James I of England was James VI of Scotland, wasn't he? Okay, so this is... It was myself that was confused. This is obviously the Scottish court prior to the unification of the thrones of England and Scotland. So that's what's going on here. And that explains the dates. So Queen Elizabeth was still on the throne at this point. The throne of England, that is. Interesting. Interesting to see literature from the Scottish side of things around this time. Anyway, let's get into it. So, the night is near gone. Hey, now the day dawis, the jolly cock crowis. Now shroudis the shoris, through nature anon. The thistle cock crius, on lovers while lias. Now scalis the skies, the nicht is ne'er gone. The fieldis o'erflowis, with gowans that growis. Qua hair lilies like low is as red as the Ron. I can tell I'm going to have trouble with this. Due to the Scottish dialect. Anyway, where was I? The turtle that true is, with notes that renewis, her party pursuis, the nicht is near gone. Now heartis with hindis, conform to their kindis, high tursis their tindis, on ground where they groan. Now her chonis with Harris, I passis in Paris, who hilk duly declaris, the nicht is near gone. The season excellis, through sweetness that smellus, now Cupid compellus, our hertis econ. On Venus where walkis, to Musona makis, signs sing for their sakis, the night is near gone. Sorry, the nicht is near gone. Or courageous nightis, aganis the day dictis, the breastplate that brightest, to fight with their foe. The stone steed stampis, through courage and crampis, sign on the land lampis, the night the nicked is ne'er gone. The fracas on feldis, that white wappins wieldis, with shining bright shieldis, as Titan in Tron. Stiff sparus in rastis, o'er corseris crestis, are broke on their breastis, the nicked is ne'er gone. So hard are their hitters, some swayers, some sitters, and some perforce flitters on ground, while they groan. Signed groomis that gayest, on blonkis that prayest, with swordis assayest, the nicked is ne'er gone. I apologise for how badly I read that out. I will add, though, that I'm not going to bother to analyse this very much because I think it's beyond me. And I don't think it would be a good use of our time for if I were to attempt it. Just having a quick look at the words here. Shroudis is dress themselves, which makes sense. Shoris is woods. Wouldn't have guessed that. Squalis is clears. Nope. Gawain's daisies. Oh, Gowan, sorry. Gowan's is daisies. Could that be Gawain? I'm not sure. Wouldn't have known that. Low is flame. Roan is Rowan. Party is partner or mate. Tursis carry Tindis antlers. Groan or bell. Herchonis hedgehogs or urchins. Oh, didn't know that. I wonder why. Why there would be a connection between hedgehogs and urchins. Because Herchonis clearly is closer to urchins. So that suggests hedgehogs were called urchins. Unless urchin is a much older word for hedgehog, or some similar word. I'd be surprised though. Although, I was about to say I'd be surprised because hedgehog does sound very much as though it could be Anglo-Saxon to me. But then again, this is Scotland. So perhaps that urchin comes from Celtic. Makis is mates. Phone is foes. Stone steed is stallion. Oh, of course. Stoned, as in stones, as in testicles. So, a horse with testicles, a stallion. Krampus prances. Lampus gallops. Fracas men and warriors. White wappins, stout weapons. At Titan, over against Titan, the sun. Really? They refer to the sun as Titan? Or read as? Flittis are cast. Blonkis, white pelfrays. Interesting. Most of it seems to be written in an iambic tetrameter. If I'm... No, I don't mean tetrameter, do I? I mean a triameter. If I'm... That should be trimeter, shouldn't it? In an iambic trimeter, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of rhyming, but mostly because all the words are ending... Not all the words. Many of the words are ending in is. So it's quite easy. So you have words like excellis and smellis and compellis. Walkis, makis, sakis, and so on. I don't recognise the form, if it is a recognised form of poetry. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say about it. As I indicated before, I think it's a bit beyond me. So we will just move on to Jolly Good Ale and Old by John Still, Bishop of Bath and Wells. John Still was master of 2 Cambridge colleges and then, from 1593, Bishop of Bath and Wells. He enjoyed considerable fame as an English preacher and disputant. I'm not sure what a disputant is. He was formerly reputed to be author of an early English comedy drama, Gamma Gurton's Needle. So, Still was born 1543 in Grantham, Lincolnshire. After finishing school at the King's School, Grantham, he became a student at Christ's College, Cambridge, where he gained a BA in 1562, a MA in 1565, and a DD doctorate in 1575. In 1561 he became a fellow of his college and took holy orders. Still was appointed in 1570 to be Lady Margaret's Professor of Divinity, and later held livings in Suffolk, where he was Archdeacon of Sudbury from 1576 to 1593, and in Yorkshire. He was then Master successively of St. John's College and of Trinity College. Still was Vice-Chancellor of his university in 1575 to 1576, and again in 1592 and 1593. He was raised to be the bishopric of Bath and Wells. He was raised to the bishopric of Bath and Wells in 1593. In 1604, he bought the manor of Hutton, Somerset, east of Wales and to the west of the Mendip Hills, with its resident Hutton Court. John Still died on the 26th of February 1608, leaving a large fortune from lead mines discovered in the Mendips. There is a fine monument to him in the north transept of Wells Cathedral, erected by his son Nathaniel. So, that's who he was. So again, he would have been firmly Elizabethan. So, Jolly Good Ale and Old. I cannot eat but little meat, my stomach is not good, but sure I think that I can drink with him that wears a hood. Though I go bare, take ye no care, I nothing am a cold. I stuff my skin so full within of jolly good ale and old. Back and side go bare, both foot and hand go cold. But belly, God send thee good ale enough, whether it be old or new, new or old. I love no roast, but a nut brown toast, and a crab laid in the fire. A little bread shall do me stead, but much bread I do not desire. No frost nor snow, no wind I trow, can hurt me if I wold. I am so wrapped and thoroughly lapped of jolly good ale and old. Back and side go bare, etc. And Tib my wife, that as her life loveth well good ale to seek, full of drink she till ye may see the tears run down her cheeks, then doth she troll to me the bowl, even as a maltworm should, and saith, Sweetheart, I took my part of this jolly good ale and old. Back and side go bare, etc. Now let them drink till they nod and wink, even as good fellows should. They shall not miss to have the bliss good old doth bring men to. Good ale doth bring men to. And all poor souls that have scoured bowls, or have them lustily trolled, God save the lives of them and their wives, whether they be young or old. Back and side go bare, both foot and hand go cold. But belly, God send thee good ale enough, whether it be new or old. So it seems to be just a poem celebrating good ale, good food, and warmth. I imagine that not only has some universal appeal today, but probably much more so in the past. Oh no! Having reread it, he's actually been quite dismissive of food. He seems to be advocating eating food in strict moderation, but drinking merrily. Well, certainly unusual as the poems we've read go. As for the form, you've obviously have some rhyming, although it seems to be a little mixed. Here we have A, B, C, B. Where was it? Further down we had... Where was it? Oh, maybe that is the only rhyming scheme it's using. Yeah, I thought I saw some other patterns, but I'm not so sure now. Yeah, so an A, B, C, B rhyming scheme. As for the meter, it seems broadly iambic. To be honest, it seems a bit ballady, although I do notice some very notable deviations from a ballad. I suspect it probably wasn't following a strict form. I suspect John Still was largely writing it by ear without following a strict form. Could be wrong. But yes, plenty of sets of lines that could have easily come from a ballad, like "And Tib my wife, that as her life loveth well good ale to seek, full oft drinks she till ye may see the tears run down her cheek." That could have just come straight out of a ballad. Anyway, moving on. So this one's an anonymous poem, although it's known to be Scottish. So we probably have more of that lovely, archaic Scottish dialect to look forward to. When Flora had o'er fret the firth. I don't know what that means. So. Oh! Yes, I remember from last week they were using QU for W, weren't they? For no apparent reason. So I must have been mispronouncing the previous poem quite badly. The previous Scottish one, I mean. Anyway. When Flora had o'er fret the firth in May of every month queen. Wait, should that be month or moneth? In May of every moneth queen. I think it should be moneth. I'll start again, sorry. When Flora had o'er fret the firth in May of every moneth queen. When Merle and Mavis singeth with mirth, sweet melling in the shorest sheen. When all Luvaris rejoiced ben, and most desirous of their prey, I heard a lusty lover main, I love but I dare not assay. Strong are the pains I daily prove, but yet with patience I sustain. I am so fetterate with the love only of my Lady Sheen. Wilk for her beauty might be queen, nature so craftily alway, has done to paint that sweet serene, whom I love I dare not assay. She is so bricked of hide and hue, I love but her alone, I ween. Is none her love that may eschew that blinkest of that dolce amene. So comely Clare are her twain, that she may Luvaris dois affray, that ever of Greece did fair Helen, whom I love I dare not say. Oh, a fret is adorned, shorewis is woods, as we saw previously. Sheen is beautiful, because it referred to a beautiful woods further up. Mane is morn, hide is skin, understandable. Blinkis gets a glimpse, dolce amene, gentle and pleasant one. Interesting. See, that really looks to me like that came from Latin, but I could be wrong. And May is more. Yeah, something I find very odd about this archaic Scot dialect, assuming that's what it is I'm seeing quite a lot of Latin influence, and I could swear quite a lot of Anglo-Saxon influence as well. I could be wrong. Like hide, H-Y-D, that... I'm no linguist. I'm certainly no linguistic historian. But hide looks so much to me like that could be Anglo-Saxon. Could be wrong. Maybe it's Celtic. Anyway, again, this poem comes under the same... I would say the same thing about this poem as I did about the previous one, that it's ballady. I can see a lot of influence of the ballad on it, but it's not being followed strictly at all. There are some very significant deviations. And so the next poem, Lusty May, is yet another poem by an anonymous individual, but who we suspect is Scottish, it would seem. O lusty May with Flora Queen, the balmy droppest from Phobos sheen. Pray Luciand beams before the day, by that Diana growest green, through gladness of this lusty May. Then Esperus that is so bright, bricked. I'm sure that must be a early form of bright, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I want to pronounce it like nicked, as in the German for night, which I'm probably mispronouncing to be fair. But that would lead to bricked, which doesn't seem right. Anyway, I'll get on with it. Then Esperus that is so bricked, till woeful Hertis casteth his light, with bankers that bloometh on every brae, and scourish are shed forth of their sict. Though gladness of this lusty May, birdies on pewis of every birth, rejoicing notice macand their mirth, ricked pleasantly upon the spray, with flourishings o'er field and firth, through gladness of this lusty May, all luvaris that are in care, to the ladies they do repair, in fresh mornings before the day, and are in mirth my mare and mare, through gladness of this lusty May. I'm sorry I can't help you. This poem is also quite beyond me. I'm just not sufficiently familiar with the dialect. But every time we see these spellings that make me think of German, like that would surely have come through Anglo-Saxon, not Celtic. Surely. So strange. Sheen is bright here, not beautiful. Till into scorus, showers. Bewis, bows. Birth, kind. Wis, wish. That's not ballady, is it? Oh, what form is that? I'm sure that's a form I've seen before. I can't think what that's called, but I'm sure I've seen a 5-line structure like that before. So let's see, we have AA, DAB, AA, BAB, AA, BAB. I'm sure that is actually a recognised form of poetry. It's mostly iambic tetrameter, I believe. Apologies I can't be more help. But yeah, stanzas in a consistent meter like iambic tetrameter with an AABAB rhyming scheme. I'm sure that is a recognised form, I just can't think of the name right now. Moving on, since there's not much I can add. My heart is high above. Presumably this is more anonymous Scottish. My heart is high above, my body is full of bliss, for I am set in love as well as I would wis. I love my lady pure, and she loveth me again. I am her servitor, she is my sovereign. She is my very heart, I am her hope and hail. She is my joy in vart, I am her lover leal. I am her bond and thrall, she is at my command. I am perpetual her man, both foot and hand. The thing that may her please my body's sail fulfill. Whatever her disease, it does my body ill. My bird, my bonny eine, my tender babe venust, my love, my life alane, my likings and my lust. We interchange our hearties in others' arms soft. Spriteless we toward the parties, asunder our love is oft. We mourn when licked day doors, we plain the nicked is short, we curse the cock that croweth, that hindereth our disport. I grow thin up aghast, when I miss her on nicked, and in my oxter fast I find the boaster ricked. Then languor on me lies like Morpheus the mare, which causes me uprise to my sweet repair, and then is all the sorrow forth of remembrance, that ever I had a furrow in love's observance. Thus never I do rest, so lusty a life I lead, when that I list to test the well of womanhade. Luvarus in pain, I pray God send you sick remained, as I have nicked and day, you to defend from dade. Therefore be ever true unto your ladies free, and they will on you rue as mine has done on me. Hail is health, invart inward, vengst delightful, glowfin blink on awakening. That's an interesting word, I hadn't heard that before. Oxter armpit, a furrow aforetime. Using a V for a W, I mean, again, that seems very Latinate. I don't know the form. I'm fairly certain I counted some lines with 10 syllables and others with 12. No, I think it's mostly 12 looking at it. Yeah. Which would make it a... what would that be called? That's 6 feet, pentameter, hexameter. And it's in rhyming couplets, I believe? Yes. So it's rhyming couplets of an iambic hexameter, I believe. Again, not much to add. This is largely beyond me. I'm too unfamiliar with the dialect. Let's see, numbers from Elizabethan miscellanies and songbook. I wonder if that's been cut off and that should say songbooks. By unnamed or uncertain authors. A praise of his lady. Tottle's Miscellanea. 1557. 1557? Was Elizabeth I on the throne by then? Yes. Oh, she was early. 1533. I knew she lived into the 1600s just. 1603. Of course Queen Elizabeth I was on the throne, because this is Elizabethan miscellanies. Anyway. A praise of his lady. And these are all by unnamed or uncertain authors. Give place, you ladies, and begone. Boast not yourselves at all, for here at hand approacheth one whose face will stain you all. The virtue of her lively looks excels the precious stone. I wish to have none other books to read or look upon. In each of her two crystal eyes smileth a naked boy. It would you all in heart suffice to see that lamp of joy. I think nature have lost the mould where she her shape did take, or else I doubt if nature could so fair a creature make. She may be well compared unto the phoenix kind, whose like was never seen or heard that any man can find. In life she is Diana chaste, in truth Penelope. In word and eke, indeed steadfast. What will more we say? What will you more say? If all the world was sought so far, who could find such a wight? Her beauty twinkleth like a star within the frosty night. Her roseal colour comes and goes with such a comely grace. Her ruddier too than doth the rose with her lively face. At Bacchus' feast none shall her meet, nay, at no wanton play, or gazing in an open street, nor gadding as a stray. The modest mirth that she doth use is mixed with shamefastness, or vice she doth wholly refuse, and hateth idleness. O Lord, it is a world to see how virtue can repair, and deck in her such honesty, whose nature made so fair. Truly she doth so far exceed our women nowadays, as doth the jelly flower a weed, and more a thousand ways. How might I do to get a graph of this unspotted tree? For all the rest are plain but chaff, which seem good corn to be. This gift alone I shall her give, when death doth what he can. Her honest fame shall ever live within the mouth of man. Possibly by John Haywood. Pretty sure that was a ballad. It's yet another love poem celebrating the virtues and merits of a woman. I thought the in each of her two crystal eyes smileth a naked boy was interesting. I'm not sure if that was likening her to a naked boy in a homoerotic sense, because, you know, there was a bit of those sort of analogies made at the time and afterwards, Shakespeare being one notable example. Or if it was actually imagery, if it was trying to have us think about what was reflecting in her eyes. I'm not sure. This was a particularly nice stanza. I think nature hath lost the mould where she her shape did take, or else I doubt if nature could so fair a creature make. That's a really nice stanza, in my opinion. For those that are perhaps watching this stream for the first time, I heartily encourage comments. By all means, if you have anything you'd like to discuss or anything you'd like to say, please leave a comment. Always welcome. I did make a particular note. Where was it? Where was it? Here it was. How might I do to get a graph of this unspotted tree? For all the rest are plain but chaff, which seems good corn to be. See, I think graph must be an older form of graft. I could be wrong, but the thing that I know is if it is, that means they were grafting trees already, which is interesting. I didn't know they'd figured that out by then. Yes, it is. It's a form of graft, particularly in botany. So apparently they knew how to graft branches by then. Interesting. Didn't know that. Now what is a jelly flower? Wiktionary hasn't a clue. Okie doke. Interesting that the author hasn't defined it then. Either the knowledge of what a jelly flower is has been lost recently, since this was written in at the very, very end of Victorian times, this anthology. This was actually written in, I think... Oh, I may be misremembering. I think it was written in 1899 and published in 1900. Could be wrong. So either that the knowledge of what jelly flowers has been lost very recently, or it was so lost that when they wrote this at the end of the 19th century, they didn't have a clue what they were talking about, and so didn't leave a comment for that reason. I wonder if my physical dictionary has any idea what a jelly flower is. Doesn't look like it. What about the dictionary for the language of flowers? Nope. So I imagine that was lost. Well, I say lost. Some people may know. But certainly obscure knowledge. Anyway, I think this one's been quite thoroughly discussed. It's nice for what it is. Gadding. What's gadding? Past participle of gad. To move from one location to another in an apparently random and frivolous manner. Gallivant. Ah. Interesting. Wait. That's odd. I've just noticed. The browser hasn't been updating. You've not seen anything past George Gascoigne. I apologise about that. I've literally only just noticed that. So yes, apologies. Nothing I can do now though. Well, other than the fact that I should have fixed it now. Right, to her, seafaring lover, Tottle's Miscellany, 1557. Shall I thus ever long, and be no whit the near? And shall I still complain to thee, the which me were not here? Alas, say nay, and be not more so dumb. But open thou thy manly mouth, and say that thou wilt come, whereby my heart may think, although I see not thee, that thou wilt come, thy word so swear, if thou a live man be, thou a live man be. The roaring huggy waves, they threaten my poor ghost, and toss thee up and down the seas in danger to be lost. Shall they not make me fear that they have swallowed thee? But as thou art most sure alive, so wilt thou come to me, whereby I shall go, see thy ship ride on the strand, and think and say, lo, where he comes, and sure here will he land. And then I shall lift up to thee my little hand, and thou shalt think thine heart in ease, in health to see me stand. And if thou come indeed, as Christ thee sent to do, those arms which miss thee now shall then embrace, and hold thee too. Each vein to every joint the lively blood shall spread, which now for want of thy glad sight doth show full pale and dead. But if thou slip thy troth, and do not come at all, as night in the clock do strike so cool, for death I shall, to please both thy false heart and rid myself from woe, that rather had to die in troth than live forsaken so. So we have rhyming couplets, I think, of varying lengths, although I didn't see many lines that were shorter than 6 feet. 6 metric feet, of course. So I don't think this is a recognised form of poetry so far as I'm aware, simply because it seems irregular. If you'll excuse me a second. I think I will go on break. I should be back in about 5 minutes. And then I'll read that again and we'll carry on analysing it. So, when I can find the right scene. Ah, there it is. Sorry about that. Right, so I'll be back in a minute. Sorry about that, I'm back now. Right, where were we? I think I was rereading this one. To her seafaring lover. Shall I thus ever long, and be no whit the near? And shall I still complain to thee, the which me will not hear? Alas, say nay, and be not more so dumb. Open thou thy manly mouth, and say that thou wilt come, whereby my heart may think, although I see not thee, that thou wilt come. Thy word so swear, if thou a live man be. The roaring, huggy waves, they threaten my poor ghost, and toss thee up and down the seas in danger to be lost. Shall they not make me fear that they have swallowed thee? But thou art more sure alive, so wilt thou come to me, whereby I shall go see thy ship ride on the strand, and think and say, lo, where he comes, and sure he will be land. And then I shall lift up to thee my little hand, and thou shalt think thine heart in ease, in health to see me stand. And if thou come indeed, as Christ thee sent to do, those arms which miss thee now shall then embrace and hold thee too. Each vein to every joint the lively blood shall spread, which now for want of thy glad sight doth show full pale and dead. But if thou slip thy troth and do not come at all, as minutes in the clock do strike, so call for death I shall, to please both thy foresight and rid myself from woe, that rather had to die in troth than live forsaken so. So I think, broadly speaking, the meaning is of a woman pining after her lover who is at sea. I could be wrong, but that seems to be what it's about. And there are admonitions about not coming back, or not being prepared to promise to come back, if I've understood it correctly. Interesting little poem, especially given when it was written. Of course, I suppose this would have been the time when a lot of the early colonization of the Americas was going on. So they would have had significant sea voyages taking place when they weren't especially good at them. This obviously predates the period when the British Navy became very highly regarded. It's interesting. So next we have The Faithless Shepherdess, William Byrd's Songs of Sundry Natures, 1589. So, moving ahead, when was the last one dated? It was the 1557. So, this is going to be more than 30 years later, presumably. It sounds like these miscellanies are probably anthologies of some sort, which means that there's no reason why they couldn't be publishing poems that are, say, known to be 50 years old, for example. But all other things being equal, this is probably being written 30 years later. So by now Elizabeth has been on the throne for quite some time. So, let's get into it. The Faithless Shepherdess. While that the sun with his beams hot scorched the fruits in vale and mountain, Philon the shepherd late forget, sitting beside a crystal fountain. In shadow of a green oak tree, upon his pipe this song played he. Adieu love, untrue love, untrue love, untrue love, adieu love. Your mind is light, soon lost for new love. So long as I was in your sight, I was your heart, your soul, your treasure. And evermore you sobbed and sighed, burning in flames beyond all measure. 3 days endured your love to me, and it was lost in other free. Adieu love, untrue love, untrue love, untrue love, adieu love. Your mind is light, soon lost for new love, another shepherd you did see, to whom your heart was soon enchained, full soon your love was leapt from me, full soon my place he had obtained, soon came a third your love to win, and we were out and he was in. Adieu love, untrue love, untrue love, untrue love, adieu love. Your mind is light, soon lost for a new love. Sure you have made me passing glad, that you your mind so soon removed, before that I the leisure had, to choose you for my best beloved, for all my love was past and done, 2 days before it was begun. Adieu love, untrue love, untrue love, untrue love, adieu love. Your mind is light, soon lost for new love. Again, I don't recognise the form, but I would say it's ballady, but with some very significant deviations. There's quite a lot of tetrameter and trimeter though. To be honest, I wasn't that impressed with that poem. Perhaps I'm missing its genius, but yes. I think the meaning is obviously quite clear. That the individual being written about is lamenting the loss of an untrue lover. Some of the imagery is nice. Just goes to show how universal these sentiments are, though. Although the language would be different, there's no reason why something to this effect, a poem to this effect, couldn't be written today. Anyway, moving on. Crabbed Age and Youth, The Passionate Pilgrim, 1599. So now we're really moving on. Crabbed age and youth cannot live together. Youth is full of pleasance, age is full of care. Youth like summer morn, age like winter weather. Youth like summer brave, age like winter bear. Youth is full of sport, age breath is short. Youth is nimble, age is lame. Youth is hot and bold, age is weak and cold. Youth is wild and age is tame. Age, I do not abhor thee. Youth, I do adore thee. Age, I do abhor thee. Youth, I do adore thee. O my love is young. Age, I do defy thee. O sweet shepherd, hie thee. For me thinks thou stay'st too long. Maybe by William Shakespeare? I'd be a little surprised if it was. It's possible. But while I haven't read a great deal of Shakespeare, this just doesn't look particularly Shakespearean to me. And it's quite irregular. At first I thought it was written entirely in trochaic trimeter with masculine endings. So age is full of care. And at that point I thought, oh yeah, interesting form. But then it gets completely broken with lines like youth is wild and age is tame. Which is an additional it has an entire additional foot for no apparent reason. And certainly the end, for me thinks of thou stays too long. It just breaks with the entire... Even though it was irregular up to that point, it breaks a lot of the rules that had been established above. Again, for no apparent reason. The rhyme seems a bit all over the place. This is quite good. Lame, bold, cold, tame. Where you have an ABBA rhyming scheme, but... I mean, you don't see that elsewhere, for example. You have brave, bear, sport, and then short. Again, perhaps its genius is lost on me, but... I'm not particularly impressed with that one. The subject matter, of course, is bemoaning the nature of becoming old. Which... Yep, very universal sentiments there. Moving on. Philida's Love Call. England's Helicon. 1600. What's a helicon? Oh, incidentally, I've noticed that there seems to have been some connectivity problems on Twitch. I apologise for that, although there's nothing I can really do that I'm aware of. But it seems to have fixed itself for now. Helicon, a large tuba whose calls fit around the player's shoulders. Physics, a low frequency electromagnetic wave observed in various plasmas. Huh. From ancient Greek helix plus on after bombardon. I feel like there's probably some sort of cultural history here that is lost on me. Why would you... If a helicon is an instrument, then what's so special about it? Why would you name something after it? Much as how if you named something after, say, a trumpet, that might evoke thoughts of war, because trumpets were historically used for giving orders on a battlefield. I imagine there's some sort of significance about the helicon that I'm not familiar with. So I'm checking my physical dictionary here. Helicon. Boeotian mountain, sacred to muses, source of poetic inspiration. I think I mispronounced that first word. It's Boeotian. So Boeotian, perhaps. But that's what it is. A mountain that's sacred to the muses, source of poetic inspiration. That makes a lot more sense. Ah, the reason it didn't show up here presumably is because it wasn't capitalized. Yeah, that makes sense. Anywho, where were we? Philida, Corydon, arise my Corydon, Titan shineth clear. Okay, Corydon. Who or what is Corydon? A stock name for a shepherd in pastorals? Maybe? Oh, it's a character in this particular poem. But since we're here, Corydon is a stock name for a shepherd in ancient Greek pastoral poems and fables, such as one in Idyll 4 of the Syracusan poet Theocritus, circa 300 to 250 BC. The name was used by Latin poets Siculus and more significantly Virgil. In the second of Virgil's eclogues, it is used for a shepherd whose love for the boy Alexis is described therein. Virgil's Corydon gives his name to the modern book Corydon. Well, since that was so useful, how about we look up Phillida? That may be significant as well. Wikipedia's not being especially helpful in that respect. Never mind. I wonder if Wiktionary would be. A female given name from ancient Greek. So it may well have some connotations that are relevant here, but if it does, they're a bit lost. Where were we? Corydon, arise, my Corydon. Titan shineth clear. Who is it that calleth Corydon? Who is it that I hear? Phillida, thy true love, calleth thee. Arise then, arise then, arise and keep thy flock with me. Phillida, my true love, is it she? I come then, I come then, I come and keep my flock with thee. Here are cherries ripe for my Corydon, eat them for my sake. Here's my oaten pipe, my lovely one, sport for thee to make. Here are threads, my true love, fine as silk, to knit thee, a pair of stockings white as milk. Here are reeds, my true love, fine and neat, to make thee, a bonnet to withstand the heat. I will gather flowers, my Corydon, to set in thy cap. I will gather pears, my lovely one, to put in thy lap. I will buy my true love garters gay, for Sundays, to wear about his legs so tall. I will buy my true love yellow say, for Sundays, to wear about her middle small. When my Corydon sits on a hill, making melody, when my lovely one goes to her wheel, singing cheerily, she methinks my true love doth excel, for sweetness, our Pan that old Arcadian knight, and methinks my true love bears the bell, for clearness, beyond the nymphs that be so bright. Had my Corydon, been alack her swain, had my lovely one, been in Ida plain. Cynthia, Endymion had refused, preferring my Corydon to play withal. The queen of love had been excused, bequeathing, my Phillida the golden ball. Yonder comes my mother Corydon, whither shall I fly? Under yonder beech, my lovely one, while she passeth by. Say to her thy true love was not here. Remember, tomorrow is another day. Doubt me not, my true love, do not fear. Farewell then, heaven keep our loves away. Sorry, alway. Interesting, this is the second time we've seen alway used, where in modern English would expect always. Yep. Alternative form of always. Archaic. Interesting. Interesting little poem. I'm not overstruck, but I would say the form of it is interesting. Two lovers speaking to each other, telling each other the kind gestures they're going to do for each other. In a way, it seems like a bit of an obvious idea, but at the same time, of all the poems we've read so far, I don't remember one quite like this. I remember the poem we read before, which was about the Earl's son, who made a claim that he was going to the woods as an outlaw when he wasn't, to try and gauge how and to what extent his lover really did care for him. You may draw your own conclusions about the legitimacy of that tactic. The Nut Brown Maid. I believe that was the one I was thinking of. That's similar. Also an early one. Earlier than this, in fact, by, about more than 100 years, I think. Or around that. But of course in that poem it was somewhat antagonistic. Yes, I don't remember a poem quite like this one. I like the idea. The execution I find a little less convincing. I think the form is a bit all over the place. I mean, we have lines like, Phillida, my true love, is it she? Which, I don't think that's even in a good meter itself, is it? Phillida, that's going to be strong, weak, strong. My, weak, true love. Well, that's a spondy, surely. Is it she? And then we have a trochee there, I think, unless my scansion is rubbish, which it wouldn't. No, it'd be the poem scansion, wouldn't it? Unless my reading of the poem scansion is rubbish, which is possible, and you end up with 9 syllables. But the point I was going to make is that on the next line you have I come then, which is 6. And then you have I come and keep my flock with thee, which is 8 syllables, I should say, so 3 feet and 4 feet each. I was expecting this one to be 4 feet as well, which again would make it a bit ballady, but not quite. But yeah, this line doesn't even, unless I'm doing a terrible job of scanning it, that line on its own seems a bit dubious. And then further on we get things like, where was it? When my lovely one goes to her wheel. That's 10, isn't it? When my lovely one goes to her wheel. No, that's 9 again. Singing cheerily. 5. How does that one scan? When my lovely. So far so good. That would be trochaic. 1. That could be strong. Goes to her wheel. So the only way to make that work would be to say that that particular line is trochaic with 5 feet, but the final syllable has been docked to give it a masculine ending. And you go to singing cheerily. I mean, on its own, that's not too bad, because you've also docked the... That would be 3 feet of trochees, and you've docked the ending again, which is consistent, but it's not consistent with the rest of the poem. So yeah, unless I'm mistaken, it is a bit all over the place. I'm looking at the rhyme now. There definitely is rhyme, like night and bright. Sweetness and clearness. Excel and bell. Oh, so... at least this part of this stanza is an ABC rhyming scheme, which I must admit, despite, again, you'd think being a little bit obvious, I don't recall seeing before. But then you have like hill and wheel and melody and cheerily, or if you prefer, hill and melody and wheel and cheerily, none of which work. I mean, you've got some consonants with hill and wheel, and you've got some consonants with melody and cheerily, so I suppose they're both partial rhymes. Which, I mean, is perfectly good. Corridon, 1, cap lap. What have we got? Gays say, Sundays, which is, of course, is that rich rhyme, if I recall correctly, when you rhyme a word with itself? I think so. Or a word that is pronounced identically. And say and small. No, sorry, tall and small. So yeah. I think it's endeavouring before towards an AB, CEF rhyming scheme, but it doesn't always manage it. It's quite happy to... what's the word? Quite happy to put up with partial rhymes and rich rhyme. There's a better phrase than put up with, isn't there? To settle for. I don't know, I mean... I simultaneously feel like the final implementation of Philoder's Love Call is a bit lacking, but at the same time there's quite a lot of good ideas here. It's creative and clever in some ways, and in other ways just a bit disappointing, I think. If you disagree, by all means, leave a comment. Although I do acknowledge the fact that if this had been picked up upon, if another poet had seen it and thought, hey, I can do a better job of this, and then they wrote another poem in the same form that was very well respected, and then other poets thought, oh, that's a good idea, I'll use this form as well, and this got really developed into quite a strict form of poetry where you have two people conversing and you have this AB, CDE rhyming scheme, and possibly you're a bit stricter about the meter, then it would get very... it would get tiresome quite quickly, I suspect. But yes, I think I've analysed this one to death, haven't I? Let's keep going. A Peddler, from John Dowland's Second Book of Songs or Airs, 1600. John Dowland. That rings a bell. Where have I heard that name before? Or am I just confused? John Dowland was an English Renaissance composer, lutenist and singer. He is best known today for his melancholy songs such as Come Heavy Sleep, Come Again, Flow My Tears, I Saw My Lady Weep, Now I Needs Must Part, and In Darkness Let Me Dwell. His instrumental music has undergone a major revival, and with the 20th century's early music revival, has been a continuing source of repertoire for luthists and classical guitarists. I think that there's a modern musician whose surname and or stage name is Dowland. And I think they play the lute, and I think that's how I've heard of them. Or I think that's what I was thinking of when I... No, I'll tell you what it is. Sting covered one of his songs. Hold on. I don't think I can show this for copyright reasons. But I can certainly find it. Dowland, Can She Excuse My Wrongs by Sting and Karamazov. That's what I was thinking of. I thought I recognised John Dowland. Okay, so the reason I recognised his name was because I've heard a cover of his song. And I seem to remember it's really quite good. Shame I can't show you it here, but if you get the chance, by all means listen to it. Certainly the cover by Sting. Anyway, that was quite the aside. Let's carry on. So this is called a peddler. Is that the modern spelling of peddler? I think the modern spelling, if it's indeed the same word, is P-E-D-D-L-E-R? Oh, it's a British alternate spelling of P-E-D-D-L-E-R. That's interesting. So is the spelling I was thinking of just an Americanism? Or is this an archaism? Which of those two spellings does my physical dictionary have? Yeah. Peddler, travelling vendor of small wares, usually carried in pack. A retailer of gossip, etc. And that's the P-D-L-A-R spelling. That is an important distinction to be made between retailers and peddlers. Peddlers go door to door, generally. Of course, nowadays people may talk about door-to-door salesmen, but I think that expression came from America. Much earlier on, they would have been known as peddlers, and they peddle their wares. Which is, trying to convince someone to buy them, regardless of the quality. And the dictionary doesn't have the spelling I thought it would be, P-E-D-D-L-E-R, but it does have peddle, P-E-D-D-L-E, follow occupation of peddler, which is P-D-L-A-R. So, in conclusion, P-D-L-A-R, I think, is the correct spelling for those of us who speak British English. Interesting, I did not realise that. But yes, as opposed to, say, a retailer who would own a shop. There's obviously a significant difference between those two professions. Anyway, I don't know how significant that's going to be to the poem, but worth bearing in mind. So, a peddler, from John Dowland's second book of Songs or Airs. Now I'm curious. What do they mean by airs? It says here, an affected manner intended to impress others. I'm familiar with that sense. A song, especially a solo, an aria. Ooh, I didn't know that. Right, I am getting really distracted, aren't I? Let's get into it. A peddler. Fine necks for ladies, cheap choice, brave and new, good pennyworths, but money cannot move. A keeper fair, but for the fair to view. A beggar may be liberal of love. Though all my wares be trash, the heart is true, the heart is true. Great gifts are guiles, and look for gifts again. My trifles come as treasures from my mind. It is a precious jewel to be plain. Sometimes in shell the Orient's pearls we find. Of others take a sheaf, of me a grain, of me a grain. Oh, that was it. Certainly seems to confirm the nature of peddling goods, which I was alluding to. I think it's all in. Yeah, I think it's all in iambic pentameter, except for the final line of each stanza, which is of course a bimeter. No, it's dimeter, isn't it? A dimeter, just 2 feet. It's nice for a short one. And an interesting subject matter. Interesting. Anyway, let's keep moving on. Hey Nonny No. Also by Anonymous. Christchurch MS. I don't know what MS would stand for here. I'm sure at the time that this anthology was written, the author was quite confident. Anyone that read it would know, but alas I do not. So, hey Nonny No. Hey Nonny No, men are fools that wish to die. It's not fine to dance and sing when the bells of death do ring. It's not fine to swim in wine and turn upon the toe and sing hey Nonny No when the winds blow and the seas flow. Hey Nonny No. Interesting. To be perfectly honest, I'm not quite sure what it's getting at here. I'm not quite sure if it's condemning jubilant behaviour when serious matters are afoot, or if it's condemning well, essentially conflict and war in favour of jubilant behaviour. Not sure. The meter seems a bit all over the place. Some lines seem to be trochaic, others iambic, and I can't see any real pattern to it. Die and wine do not seem to have any rhymes. Unless it was an attempt to cause them to... Unless that's supposed to be a partial rhyme with each other. In an essential... would it be essential? Probably assonantial or something? Assonant is what I'm getting at. Unless it's supposed to be assonance. What would that word be? Assonantic. Yeah, unless it's supposed to be a partial rhyme in an assonantic way. Anyway, I don't have much to add. Let's keep going. Preparations. Yeah, if His Majesty, our Sovereign Lord... Okay, so are we up to James I being on the throne? I think we must be. In fact, I bet that's a big part of how they came up with this partial ordering of poems. Then again, they know the book it came from. Wait. Song or Airs 1600? Oh, of course. We moved on from that. Because I was just thinking, Queen Elizabeth I was still on the throne. So yes, they've obviously concluded, based on yet His Majesty as Sovereign Lord, they've obviously from that concluded that this must have been later. Which means Shakespeare must have written most of his stuff by this point. I've forgotten when Shakespeare stopped. But I know that he was a broadly speaking Elizabethan poet. Yeah, 1564 to 1616. That was Shakespeare's life. Oh, and his sonnets is almost always a reference to the 154 sonnets that were first published altogether in a quarto in 1609. Okay, so this might be pre the publishing of some of Shakespeare's work like his sonnets, but he was certainly very well established during Queen Elizabeth's reign. Anyway, getting distracted again. So, preparations. Yeah, if His Majesty, our Sovereign Lord, should of his own accord friendly himself invite, and say, I'll be your guest tomorrow night, how should we stir ourselves, call and command, or hands to work, let no man idle stand? Set me fine Spanish tables in the hall, see they be fitted all, Let there be room to eat, an order taken that there want no meat. See every sconce and candlestick made bright, that without tapers they may give a light. Look to the presents, are the carpets spread? The daisy o'er the head, the cushions in the chairs, and all the candles lighted on the stairs, perfume the chambers, and in any case, let each man give attendance in his place. Thus if a king were coming, would we do, and 'twere good reason too, for 'tis a duteous thing, to show honour to an earthly king, and after all our travail and our cost, so he be pleased to think no labour lost, but at the coming of the King of Heaven, all set at 6 and 7, we wallow in our sin, Christ cannot find a chamber in the inn, we entertained him always like a stranger, and, as at first, still lodged him in the manger. That took a turn I wasn't expecting. I like the form as well, I don't recognise it. But it looks like it's a mixture of pentameter and trimeter. I think it's 5-3-3-5-5-5. And it's in rhyming couplets. It's a nice form, I don't recognise it, but I do like it. The meaning is succinct and clear as well, which is nice. And it's an inventive and effective way of making the point that it wants to make about the way that Jesus Christ was treated on earth. By comparing it to how we treat James I, and not just making the comparison, but actually creating a sort of fictional story, a hypothetical story, around his self-invitation. It is good. I like it a lot. So, let's keep going. There was actually one other point I was going to make. I wasn't quite able to figure out the meter perfectly. I think it's iambic. Yes, it is, but there's a fair amount of trochaic substitution on the first foot, which is fine. That is absolutely valid in iambic poetry. Anyway, the New Jerusalem, Song of Mary in the Mother of Christ. Sorry, the Song of Mary, the Mother of Christ. And this is 1601, so we're back to Elizabeth being on the throne, strangely. Unless this was a foreign poem, such as written by a Scot. But the problem, the fly in the ointment there is the fact that it's not written in a Scottish dialect, whereas a lot of the English-Scottish poems we've read have been. In fact, I think all of them up to this point in this anthology have been. Anyway, where was we? Where were we? The New Jerusalem. That's interesting. Here, Jerusalem, which is presumably a way of spelling Jerusalem. But I don't know why HI would make a J. But here makes you think of hierarchy. Huh. Can't explain that. Still. Jerusalem, my happy home, when shall I come to thee? When shall my sorrows have an end? the joys when shall I see? O happy harbour of the saints, O sweet and pleasant soil, in thee no sorrow may be found, no grief, no care, no toil. There lust and lucre cannot dwell, there envy bears no sway, there is no hunger, heat nor cold, but pleasure every way. Thy walls are made of precious stones, thy bulwarks diamond squares, thy gates are of right orient pearl, exceeding rich and rare. Thy turrets and thy pinnacles with carbuncles do shine, the very streets are paved with gold, surpassing clear and fine. Ah, my sweet home, Jerusalem, would God I were in thee, would God my woes were at an end, the joys that I might see. Thy gardens and thy gallant walks continually are green, there grow such sweet and pleasant flowers as nowhere else are seen. Quite though the streets with silver sound, the flood of life doth flow, upon those banks on every side the wood of life doth grow. The wood of life doth grow. Their trees for evermore bear fruit, and evermore do spring, there evermore the angels sit, and evermore do sing. A lady sings magnificat, with tones surpassing sweet, and all the virgins bear their part, sitting about her feet. Jerusalem, my happy home, would God I were in thee, would God my woes were at an end, the joys that I might see. That was quite good as well. It's a ballad, clearly very religiously themed, but skillfully put together, I think. Very much idealising Jerusalem, because of course we must remember that even in this time Jerusalem was a place. At this point, I don't know who had control of Jerusalem, but I have little doubt it would have been an Islamic power. I think the Byzantines had been conquered by this point, so maybe the Ottoman Empire had it? Because the Ottomans got quite big in their height. Their empire, I mean. And I certainly doubt the streets were literally paved with gold. Although parts of this do make me wonder if they're using the New Jerusalem as a... what's the word? Oh, I can't think of the word. A metaphor for heaven. Although maybe there's something more, maybe there's some deeper meaning in the phrase the New Jerusalem. Perhaps that would have had a significance to the people at the time, which it doesn't to us now. It's a good poem though. Whatever else may be said about it, in my opinion. So let's move on. Icarus, from Robert Jones's Second Book of Songs and Airs, 1601. Love winged my hopes and taught me how to fly, far from base earth but not to mount too high, for true pleasure lives in measure, which if men forsake, blinded they into folly run and grief for pleasure take. But my vain hopes, proud of their new-taught flight, enamoured sought to woo the sun's fair light, whose rich brightness moved their likeness to aspire so high, that all scorched and consumed with fire, now drowned in woe they lie. And none but love their woeful hap did rue, for love did know that their desires were true. Though fate frowned and now drowned, they in sorrow dwell, It was the purest light of heaven for whose fair love they fell. This is quite an unusual form. So what do we have? Love winged my hopes and taught me how to fly. So that's 5 feet. Far from base earth, but not to mount too high. 5 again. For true pleasure, lives in measure, which if men forsake. So 223. Blinded they into folly, run and grief for pleasure take. That's 6, isn't it? Then we have but my vain hopes, proud of their new taught flight, enamoured, sought to woo the sun's fair light, whose rich brightness moved their likeness to aspire so high that all scorched and consumed with fire, now drowned in woe they lie. That all scorched and consumed with fire, now drowned in woe they lie. That's 7, isn't it? Oh, the previous one was 14 syllables, so 7 feet as well. And none but love their woeful hap did rue, for love did know that their desires were true. Though fate frowned and now drowned, they in sorrow dwell. It was the purest light of heaven. That should be heaven, shouldn't it? It's the 1-syllable version of heaven that gets used in a lot of poetry. So it was the purest light of heaven, for whose fair love they fell. So yeah, it's the syllable the number of feet per lines in each stanza is 5, 5, 2, 2, 3, 7. Fairly consistently. And I think it's iambic, but with some trochaic substitutions. It's a very interesting form. I don't remember seeing anything like it before. Let me read it once more. Love winged my hopes and taught me how to fly, far from base earth, but not to mount to high. For true pleasure lives in measure, which if men forsake, blinded they into folly run and grief for pleasure take. But my vain hopes, proud of their new taught flight, enamoured sought to woo the sun's fair light, whose rich brightness moved their likeness to aspire so high, that all scorched and consumed with fire, now drowned in woe they lie. But none but love their woeful hap did rue, for love did know that their desires were true. Though fate frowned, and now drowned they in sorrow dwell, or was the purest light of heaven, for whose fair love they fell? Very interesting poem. I can't quite tell if it's about ambition or if it's slightly more complex than that and it's actually talking about falling in love with someone and then that creating an ambition to be more than you are to impress them and then failing. It talks about love a lot, but it's not clear if that's romantic love or not. Good poem though. Interesting subject matter, even if I haven't quite fully deduced it yet. Interesting form. Quite unique. Anyway. That'll probably have to do for poetry this week. So, let's move on to riddles. So I think the last one we looked at was 124. So the riddle was, what shape or figure I may wear is not so easy to declare. So often changing, nothing pleases. Long I'm plagued so with diseases, which as in man can never be breeding through luxury or too high feeding. Whilst I with chameleon live, and on his airy substance thrive, yet high and lofty I am found, as well as low on barren ground. And sound and rotten oft appear, just as I am cultivated there. While single I am very easy, who'd marry, double I never please ye, and yet can make such power as given, a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. Ladies, too hard a task for you, I'm deemed and not to be told true. Yet here you'll say I'm aimed too plain, and your bright fancy never constrain. Then now declare and you'll excel, or the first fool you ask will tell. I must admit I've forgotten what the solution to this one was. I remember reading it. I've got a vague recollection it didn't entirely make sense though. So, it was it mind? If so, I stand by what I just said. Yeah. That one didn't make sense to me. Anyway, on to the first new one of this week. So as always, if you have any guesses or any ideas, you just want to discuss something, please leave a comment and we will do so. So, 125. We would not interrupt the fair, whose suit and service pay us, but only beg when this is read, that they would not betray us. Most noble animals on earth, our social brethren boast, whom men alone, licentious men, experience to their cost. Skulking with our den we lodge, and always wait a prize, since herds and flocks for us are seized, and fall at a sacrifice. In equal order mostly ranged, we equal tasks pursue. We ravage more than Etna's mouth ever from its entrails through. In equal labour though employed, 'tis worth your observation. One half's never known to move alone, and none to change their station. We stand as guards and keep in awe by nature's good design. What such indulge will public peace and private undermine. When our drooping mates at last draw nearer to their end, of bitter pains their latest hours, as did their first attend. By nature's strong entrenchment fixed, undauntedly we grow, but pioneers will oft subvert with pickaxe and with crow. In things inanimate by art, most uncontrolled we sway, we urge through knotty rocks and oaks, through massy bars our way. While quick on earth, in senses of mirth, most visible we are, in mirth said I, we are the same, in torture and despair. Goodness me. What is this one? We would not interrupt the fair whose suit and service pay us. What do they mean by suit? A garment or set of garments suitable and or required for a given task or activity. Petition, request, entreaty. That's more likely. The act of following or pursuing. Oh, as in pursuit. That seems likely. A pursuit of a love interest, wooing, courtship. The act of suing, the pursuit of a particular object or goal. Suing also sounds like it comes from suit, doesn't it? Or rather they share an etymology. Yes, so that's what it probably is. We would not interrupt the fair whose suit and service pay us, but only beg when this is read that they would not betray us. Interesting. Most noble animals on earth our social brethren boast, whom men alone, licentious men, experience to their cost. Skulking within our den we lodge, and always wait a prize. Since herds and flocks for us are seized and fall a sacrifice, in equal order mostly ranged we equal tasks pursue. We ravage more than Etna's mouth ever from its entails through. In equal labour though employed, 'tis worth your observation. One half's never known to move alone, and none to change their station. We stand as guards and keep in awe by nature's good design. What much indulged will public peace and private undermine. But when our drooping mates at last draw nearer to their end, of bitter pains their latest hours as did their first attend. By nature's strong entrenchment fixed, undauntedly we grow, but pioneers will oft subvert with pickaxe and with crow. In things inanimate by art, most uncontrolled we sway, we urge through nitty rocks and oaks, through massy bars our way. While quick on earth in scenes of mirth, most visible we are, in mirth said I, we are the same, in torture and despair. I really don't know. I don't like just throwing in the towel like this, but I really don't know. So we'll have to look it up. Teeth. Okay, let's go back. Why is that teeth? We would not interrupt the fair whose suit and service pay us, but only beg when this is read that they would not betray us. Most noble animals on earth our social brethren boast, who men alone, licentious men, experience to their cost. Skulking within our den we lodge, we always wait a prize. Well, that makes sense for teeth. Since herds and flocks for us are seized, and full a sacrifice. That makes sense. In equal order, mostly ranged, we equal tasks pursue. We ravage more than Etna's mouth ever from its entrails through. Still making sense, although certainly a very poetic way of phrasing it. In equal labour, though employed, 'tis worth your observation. One half's never known to move alone, and none to change their station. That makes sense. We stand as guards and keep in awe by nature's good design. What much indulged with public peace and private undermine. Don't follow that one. When our drooping mates at last draw nearer to their end, of bitter pains their latest hours as did their first attend. Oh, that's a massive clue. That's referring to the pain of losing a tooth, particularly a rotten tooth, because this is before modern dentistry, versus teething pains. By nature's strong entrenchment fixed, undauntedly we grow. That all makes sense, but pioneers will oft subvert with pickaxe and with crow. Don't follow that. And things inanimate by art, most uncontrolled we sway. We urge through knotty rocks and oaks, through messy bars our way. Still not following. While quick on earth in scenes of mirth most visible we are, in mirth said I we are the same, in torture and despair. I guess that just means you open your mouth if you're being tortured and you're despairing, as well as if you're laughing and happy, mirthful. So okay, yeah, I wouldn't have got it, but most of that makes sense. Let's see if we can get the next one. 126. Again, by all means, leave comments. When good old Saturn swayed the realms of day, and numerous blessings did to earth convey, in flowery fields I dwelt on meadows green, doubled each beauty and improved the scene, while spring maintained a never-ending round, and nymphs with innocence and beauty crowned. Sometimes I punished scorn and cold disdain, or soothed with friendly art the lover's pain. But when with impious hand rebellious Jove expelled his father from the throne above, by rural nymphs unsought, unknown to fame, to court I went and took a different name. My credit soon increased in every place, nor did the gods deny my form to grace. For all my mystic power to me is given, by Hermes feigned the messenger of heaven. I'm frail by nature and of humble race, yet spotless charms adorn my lovely face, and often naked or but meanly dressed, though sometimes glittering in a golden vest. To me the ladies pay the warmest zeal, who tell their beauties or their faults reveal. To me in every exigence repair, the faithful counsel of the modish fair. In short, to all my friendly aid I lend, the beau's companion and the lady's friend. Ye British fair, whose piercing wits excel, explore my secret name, my powers mysterious tell. Again, this is a hint that this was a book. It was anticipated this book would be read by women. I do note it does say British specifically though, so this wasn't written for the American market, clearly. Okay, I'm looking up Jove. I thought Jove was another name for God, as in by Jove. But they wouldn't destroy... Oh, Jupiter, of course. Of course it is. That's me being silly. So I wonder if they have the same story that Zeus did, that his father Cronus, I think it was eating all his brothers and sisters, and then eventually he rescued them and overthrew his father in one go. No indication here. Shame, that might have helped. Saturn. Actually, that might be the clue. A god of time, as in Cronus, generation, dissolution, abundance, wealth, agriculture, dum-de-dum-de-dum. Ah. So yeah, it's possible that this is in fact a reference to the old Greek story, the old Greek mythology of Cronus and Zeus, if I'm remembering his name correctly. Kronos. So where was I? When good old Saturn swayed with realms of day, and numerous blessings did to earth convey, in flowery fields I dwelt and meadows green, doubled each beauty and improved the scene, while spring maintained a never-ending round. Again, that sounds like Greek mythology, because there was of course a story about Persephone and was it Hades? Or is that the Roman name? Yes, it was Hades. And of course that's how there's a story about how the season started, and before then it was just perpetual summer, or I suppose spring, depending upon how you look at it. Perfectly green all year round. Abundant food. Where was I? In flowery fields I dwelt, and meadows green, doubled each beauty and improved the scene, while spring maintained a never-ending round, and nymphs with innocence and beauty crowned. I do find the association of nymphs and innocence very interesting, because I thought in Greek mythology nymphs were quite sexual creatures, but then again that would contradict the ideals of womanhood in Georgian Britain. And a beautiful woman certainly might be described poetically as a nymph. Anyway, sometimes I punish scorn and cold disdain, or soothe with friendly art the lover's pain. But when with impious hand rebellious Jove expelled his father from the throne above, by rural nymphs unsought, unknown to fame, to court I went and took a different name. My credit soon increased in every place, nor did the gods deny my form to grace. For all my mystic power to me is given, by Hermes feigned the messenger of heaven, and frail by nature and of humble race, yet spotless charms adorn my face, and often naked or but meanly dressed, though sometimes glittering in a golden vest. That's probably a big clue. But to what I don't know. To me the ladies pay the warmest zeal, who tell their beauties or their faults reveal. To me in every exigence repair, The faithful counsel of the modish fair. What do I mean by modish? Modish. Conforming with fashion or style in the current mode. Oh, that makes sense. So I wonder if that is modish or if it's modish. It's probably modish, isn't it? The faithful counsel of the modish fair. In short, to all my friendly aid I lend, the beau's companion and the lady's friend. Ye British fair, whose piercing wits excel, explore my secret name, my powers mysterious tell. Interesting. So it's probably something natural? Since there was this allusion to it making the early meadows beautiful. In flowery fields I dwelt on meadows green. So it's not a flower because it was in flowery fields. Doubled each beauty and improved the scene. So it's improving fields and meadows. But then it went to court and took a different name. It has a face in some sense, and it can be dressed, including in gold. Now this doesn't mean dressed in clothes, obviously, but it means it has something draped around it. Like a tablecloth dresses a table. Or salad dressing dresses a salad. Oh, what is the other sense of repair? Does that mean to sort of retire and relax? I should remember. To restore to good working order, to make amends for, as for an injury, the act of repairing something, the result of repairing something, the condition of something in respect of need for repair, the act of repairing or resorting to a place. Oh yeah, a bit like holidaying. A place to which one goes frequently or habitually, a haunt. To transfer oneself to another place. I think that's the sense I was thinking of. Oh, to pair again. Please try to repair the two earbuds to each other. Huh. To me, in every exigence repair, the faithful counsel of the modish fair. Maybe it does mean repair is incorrect. I mean, parts of it would figure with a mirror, but other parts absolutely wouldn't. Another possibility I thought of was water. You know, you might have a pond or a river, and it's something you could see your face in theory. But again, I'm not completely convinced by that. I expect it's probably something else. Let me reread this. Could it be a painting? When good old Saturn swayed the realms of day, and numerous blessings did to earth convey, in flowery fields I dwelt and meadows green, double each beauty and improved the scene. While spring maintained a never-ending round, and nymphs of innocence and beauty crowned, sometimes I punished scorn and cold disdain, or soothed with friendly art the lover's pain. But when with impious hand rebellious Jove expelled his father from the throne above, by rural nymphs unsought, unknown to fame, to court I went and took a different name. My credit soon increased in every place, nor did the gods deny my form to grace. For all my mystic power to me is given, by Hermes famed the messenger of heaven. I'm frail by nature and of humble race, yet spotless charms adorn my lovely face, and often naked or but meanly dressed, though sometimes glittering in a golden vest, so a golden frame perhaps. To me the ladies pay the warmest zeal, who tell their beauties or their faults reveal. To me in every exigence repair, the faithful counsel of the modish fair. In short, all my friendly aid I lend, the beau's companion and the lady's friend. It doesn't quite figure, does it? Ye British fair, whose piercing wits excel, explore my secret name, my powers mysterious tell. I don't know. I have to throw in the towel again, unfortunately. I bet this one I'll kick myself though. A glass. Do they mean a mirror? A mirror. She adjusted her lipstick in the glass. So it was a mirror. Presumably. Oh, that's unfortunate. When good old Saturn swayed the realms of day, and numerous blessings did to earth convey, in flowery fields I dwelt and meadows green, doubled each beauty and improved the scene. While spring maintained a never-ending round, and nymphs of innocence and beauty crowned, sometimes I punished scorn and cold disdain, or soothed with friendly art the lover's pain. When with impious hand rebellious Jove expelled his father from the throne above, by rural nymphs unsought, unknown to fame, to court I went and took a different name. My credit soon increased in every place, nor did the gods deny my form to grace. For all my mystic power to me is given, by Hermes famed, the messenger of heaven. I'm frail by nature and of humble race, yet spotless charms adorn my lovely face, and often naked or but meanly dressed, though sometimes glittering in a golden vest. To me the ladies pay the warmest zeal, who tell their beauties or their faults reveal. To me in every exigence repair, the faithful counsel of the modish fair. In short, to all my friends aid I lend, the beau's companion and the lady's friend. You British fair, whose piercing wits excel, explore my secret name, my powers mysterious tell. I wouldn't have got that. I mean, I even considered it and rejected it because parts of it didn't make sense. There must be some cultural context there that I'm just not getting. What a shame. Anyway, I think that's it for this week. Thank you for coming, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be streaming again on Friday. I still don't have a game lined up, but it will be some sort of game. Saturday and Monday as well, there are also video gaming streams. Much the same. I'll be playing something, getting through some sort of game. The same game in each case, I should say. It'll be a playthrough of something, don't know what. And then next Wednesday we get round to poetry, prose and riddles again. So, once again, I hope you have a wonderful night, and good night.